Hello, Yoga One Awake Seekers and Sages.
Hi, everyone.
We are so happy that you're here. We are so happy that you are following. This is Lisa Turner, astrologer and yoga teacher extraordinaire. And she's been looking at the skies and she's been bringing it down through her system to heart.
Yes.
Really to heart, and appreciating where we are in life process as individuals, as a collective. And she's going to share what's going on in this current cycle. And I know you want to sweep back a little bit and move us forward a little bit so we have some context.
I do. You know, the Aries New Moon for astrologers is the new year. It's the beginning of a 12-month cycle. So I miss Tracy at the Aries New Moon, so I kind of felt like we should go backwards and then go forward.
Let's say it was April 11th. The new moon was April 11th.
Yeah, and it was at 22 degrees Aries. The Lord of the new moon, which is Mars, was making a trine to Jupiter. So you had this, and there was a lot of planets in Aries, and you had this feeling of maybe urgency. It could have been anything that we wanted to start, we were ready for. There was a boost in confidence. You could have felt overly confident or aggressive, or just that sense of readiness to do it. And
I'm an Aries.
And Aries is
So
pretty
I was
aggressive energy. It starts the season.
I was out of my skin with excitement.
Yeah.
I was like this big yes.
You could have wanted to start arguments, right? A little short-tempered, a little hot-tempered. Mercury was also in Aries, still is, just finally getting ready to clear that and move into Taurus. But one of the other things that was happening with Mars, because I was looking at Mars, because it was the ruler of the new moon, is that Mars was also starting to separate from a square with Neptune. And when that does that, that's kind of a conflicting energy of, I want to get going and move forward, but there's also a little uncertainty, right? It could have been a drain of the energy. Maybe we were overdoing it. I know I was definitely overdoing it. And then I was really tired because Neptune kind of zapped some of that energy. One of the things that I was also looking at was the story of the lotus.
Okay.
Because when we have the story of the lotus, it is like a new beginning. I liked it a little bit. You know, it's that seedling. It's that bursting through the mud and was stuck, and you know, the Neptune energy of the reflective light, right? It knows it needs to get to the surface, but it's a little unsure. We know that we have this new beginning. We know that we want to start new things, whether it is jobs or diets or new health habits, whatever the case may be.
A little redo of the wardrobe.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. A haircut, like all those really practical things. Like it doesn't have to be huge. It can be like just this tiny feeling of, I've got to clean out the silverware drawer and just get this organized.
Well, spring
and looking
is coming.
better, right? Like it's all that fresh energy.
Absolutely. So, you know, when you think of that and you think of that burst, I started thinking about what would happen if the lotus, if that root felt bogged down, and how difficult it would feel knowing that it needs this new beginning and wants this new beginning, but there's that pull, something weighting it down, kind of like that Mars-Neptune square. And we often want new beginnings, or at least we think we do. We want new beginnings. And sometimes we keep a little in the past. We hold on a little bit.
Yeah. Or even like I find in my situations, anytime I'm coming into something new and fresh, it's only going to feel new and fresh if it's a little outside the comfort zone. So then my old belief patterns will start to pull me back. And, you know, like parental messages, which, you know, I love my parents, I have very good parents, but nonetheless, there are parental messages. So that as I come towards the edge of that comfort zone and I'm excited about coming into the new beginning, there's like this quiet little whisper, remember, you know, and it will start to redefine that boundary. And I'm like, no, I don't want to listen to you. But like there is like, it's a bogging.
Yeah, there's
that
exactly.
feeling of being pulled.
And that fear.
Mhm.
That fear of what's out there, like, you know, is it refracted light when the sun hits it?
Yeah.
You know, which way is it? Is it this way or is it that way? Should I, shouldn't I? And that second guessing. Mars in astrology is actually cutting. When you have surgery, you look at Mars. It is cutting.
Interesting, right? I didn't know that. It's super interesting because it's a really easy way to encapsulate and define an energetic expression. So then when you hear Mars, you're like, oh, and you get this idea. There's like this cutting, there's this.
Yeah, so as I was going on these mental tangents of cutting and Mars and these new beginnings, I sent Tracy a text and I said, do you have any experience with cord cutting? Or do you know anything about it? Because I know the idea of it, these energetic links that we have to one another that, again, hold us back from these new beginnings to push forward, to even with the confidence, you know, even if in one moment we have the confidence that we are ready to assert ourselves and move forward, and then we have those fears of the past or those little whispers that hold us back, that we kind of just need to say, okay, let's cut the cord, let's be ready.
And when you think about cutting, so like the old beliefs are gonna hold at us and we're gonna snip, I don't wanna hear that, no. And then, but also as I'm moving through the fabric of the boundary of my comfort zone, it's like, snip, let's make a hole so I can kind of slide into this new space. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of great, like when you think of cord cutting and cutting in general to create clarity and empowerment. Yeah.
So, you know, so we've moved past that new moon, but those thoughts are still valid. You know, right before we went on camera, I was talking about my own chitta, my own thoughts that I need to kind of cut and form new thought patterns.
And it doesn't just happen in one little
No.
Like it's like there's a diligence, right? Like you have to be really committed to your soul's growth and be super diligent so that every time that little whisper comes up, because it's subconscious patterning, it's super deep. It doesn't just go away because you say, I heard you, get out of here now. And boom, it's gone. I went like this, cut. I said Mars and Neptune was helping me. It's like there's a diligence. We have to stick with ourselves.
And you as yoga teachers, we often talk about breathing into the tension or breathing into those feelings of restriction. And I was talking of this new moon in my classes, and I was telling a story of how, you know, oftentimes I'm very impatient. You breathe into the tension. You're like, I've breathed 3 times into the tension. Why hasn't it relaxed yet? We forget about the unfolding. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, maybe it does, but the reality is not likely. We have a cycle to go through, and to remember to breathe into that space. I have to remind myself all the time
It's very incremental.
To take the time, because in that Aries energy, you do feel that urgency. You don't want to wait.
Yeah. And I know I was saying like that, the beginning at Aries it's just the beginning of 365.
Exactly.
So it's like, I feel the new beginning and I'm like, actualize this now, because I've got all the Aries. It's like my inner Aries is just like, let's go, this is our day. And but it's not like whatever starts today has a process.
I have chills just thinking about it, because that process now leads us into all of those Aries planets are now going to ingress into Taurus, which is slowing everything down. It's, you know, the world's way, God's way, the solar system's way of saying, okay, no more rush. We're going to hold the space.
Go ahead and anchor this.
Yeah. In order to start to manifest it.
Yeah, I think like, especially in the yoga community, there's this infatuation with the upper chakras in the bliss that we can find, in the light that we can find. And like, honestly, you guys, like, especially now when there's so much chaos, these are the days of rooting it down and anchoring it. Yeah. So Taurus is our friend, and Taurus is going to help us bring all the excitement down into something that's going to become tangible.
Yes. And I wanted to, and I'm not sure if anyone's aware, but Libra and Taurus are both ruled by Venus.
Yes.
Yes. But they both have a different flavor to them. That Venus and Taurus is very much identifying with worth, with their security comes from what they own, what they possess. It is the resources of time, where that Libra is more about affection and socialization and beautifying. So they have very different feels to them. So we're moving now into a sense of security. What do I have? You know, my grandson was over and he was carrying 10 cars and he didn't want to let any of them go. It was his possessions. Yeah. It gave him a sense of security.
And also think resources.
Resources is a beautiful one because time is a valuable resource.
And when you have this exciting new thing that you want to do or create or become, like, you need the raw resources. And so I think Venus and Taurus reminds me of, like, it's okay to need the stuff. We're going to need the stuff. The stuff is resources.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's just not exaggerated.
We need money.
Yeah, greed is a different conversation.
It is.
We need the money, the resources, I don't know, you're gonna need a laptop if you want to write a book, or a pad and pen, one or the other, but you're gonna need resources.
You are. Yeah. Aparigraha.
Yeah.
It's non-possessiveness. It's the things that,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
So yamas and niyamas.
Oh, yes.
Yes. From the Yoga Sutras, parigraha is non-possessiveness, and that's a yama.
We feel it. The things that we possess start to possess us. They cause us more suffering versus happiness. Have you ever cleaned out your closet and looked at the shirt going, I have not worn this in 5, 10, 15 years. Man, so-and-so gave this to me and it has this memory and I just can't let it go.
Yeah. Or even, I have sweaters right now that are just tumbling out, okay? So it's my today job. Like, this is so important. And I've been, like, throwing them up to, like, land higher on the pile. And I shut the doors because if my husband sees that, he'll just be like, what? So it's like, I have an abundance. And no matter how much I love any of them, I can pick a few to give to someone who needs. And so it's like keeping some sort of a balance along the continuum.
Yeah.
Of non-possessiveness, non-attachment.
And even though it is a Taurus Venus, I often feel that we do this in our love relationships as well.
Interesting.
Where we have, it is that person that gives us a sense of security. And what would happen if that relationship ended? You know, do we put all of our resources into that person? Do they give us a sense of worth and value?
Interesting.
And just to take note of that, not to do anything with it, but just to be aware of what we place value and our sense of security on.
And also, I feel like there can be the opposite impact in terms of long-term relationships that get dull. And that maybe Venus and Taurus is a good time to say, you know what, this person brings a lot more to my life than
and then putting value on.
Yes, value on it.
Absolutely.
And expressing it. Where's Mercury?
Mercury's going to move into Taurus.
Okay,
everything's
so
moving
there you
into
go.
Taurus, and everything's going to feel very personal because these are our personal planets moving into Taurus. One of the things two of the things that I kind of have noted that we're coming into is those Taurus planets are going to square Saturn as we move towards the full moon. When we have these squares, especially to Saturn, they are tests, they are challenges. They, you know, we may have communication breakdowns or relationship breakdowns, and notice of breakdowns, not breakups. You're looking at what's challenging the relationship,
right?
You know, or what's challenging the thought patterns. Am I stuck? Am I not communicating well? Just to take note that we might come into this energy because it's time.
It's really important too to remember that our relationships are the context within which we learn and grow. So like when we hit these challenges, we hit these sticky points, it isn't this like contemporary idea where what we're talking about is an all or nothing, does he stay, does he go?
Right.
What we're talking about is, hey, is there an opportunity for us to grow here
It is the
together?
growth.
Those shine a light on it.
Exactly. Those squares, those tests, those challenges in astrology, they are our biggest opportunity for growth. In our own lives, in our own chart, and when we work with others, when we mirror each other, it is growth.
And I know in my house, I feel really loved when we come through those. You know, otherwise, like if there isn't any friction, then there's nothing there. You know, it's like when you kind of rub up against each other. And
it's work.
That it's a little bit of work. You have to be courageous. But then as you come through it, you're like, I feel really loved and seen and heard and connected. Like there's a valuable connection in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's coming through this as we come from new moon to full moon. Expect a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think we're going to experience a little bit of tension. Venus is going to come up to Uranus. That's, you know, if you feel like a little humdrum in your relationships or you need a little extra money, you know, those are great. That's a great opportunity to kind of shake things up, change things a little bit as we work towards the full moon in Scorpio. As I was reflecting on, you know, Aparigraha and the Taurus energy of I put so much value on what I own, what I possess. As we move toward, and we have all of these challenges kind of coming up, as I was reflecting on the full moon, which is in Scorpio, which is about the release, about the surrender, I don't have this all-consuming power. You know, it is the death and the renewal and regeneration. So for me, looking at it, but I'm also very Scorpio, it was very cathartic. It was these challenges that we may be facing from now until the full moon. Once we reach that full moon, we've emotionally surrendered.
Gotcha. So the full moon is on the 27th?
It is.
That's
On the 27th. Yes, because I printed it out. It is on the 27th.
What day of the week that is?
It's at 7 degrees.
Okay, so the 27th is
a Tuesday.
So we're coming from Sunday the 11th to, you know, 2 weeks and a couple days, the Tuesday the 27th, and the excitement of the new beginning, the pull and tug of the gritty stuff at the edge and the opportunity to cut, culminating to this feeling of just surrender.
But breakthroughs. So when you look with breakthroughs,
breakthroughs.
So anything that feels stuck, I'm going to use the word constipated, right?
Yeah.
Constipated.
Lack of flow.
Lack of flow. And Scorpio does feel digestion, right? It's about elimination, I should say. It's elimination is Scorpio. But if you think about that, right, we get stuck. We get constipated in life. You know, we lack this flow. And as we go through that full moon, it is the breakthrough. It is finally the movement.
And when you I did that, like coming out of the comfort zone and cutting to get out, and that feeling like you're stuck. Will I make it? Will I get there?
Exactly.
And then that full moon maybe being the surrender movement of just kind of like plopping on the other side with a sense of, you can find some satisfaction, hopefully.
I think satisfaction, but again, that feeling of movement.
Gotcha.
I like that. I like that with movement. Mars will be in Cancer at that time. So, and it makes a sextile to the new moon or to the full moon. So again, that movement moving forward. So the things that kind of bog us down, or, we take the time from now until the 27th to look at what not only are we feeling a little stuck with or challenged by, or maybe too attached to. By the time we hit that full moon, we have those breakthroughs.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it, to be honest, because I've actually, with a lot of the Aries energy, and if you know your chart, if you have a very fiery chart, all of that Aries energy was making that trine or conjunction, to your fire planets. And one of the things that I've been noticing in myself, I have no Earth in my chart. So I have needed very much to ground down, to root down. I have been paying a lot of attention to my Tadasana, really feeling, from foot to ankle to knee to thigh to hip, how that feels, and pulling everything in and up, needing to feel rooted. So I'm excited about the move into Taurus, is because I need to anchor a little bit.
And I know you said Cancer is home.
It is, and it's also our emotions, that sense of security, that emotional security. Things in Scorpio. So to me, to give a visual, the Taurus energy is like hoarders.
Gotcha.
Right? I need this, I need this, I need this, I can't live without this. And when we move to that Scorpio energy, it's about the purge, where you make room, and you're like, oh my gosh, my house is this big? Like, I feel like it can flow. And it shifts in our body as well. Yeah. We'll be able to feel that in our relationships. We often put high value on the house that we own together. Well, what happens if you go bankrupt together?
Right.
Are you gonna be?
Is it still together?
All right.
Or was that the glue?
Can you release your possessions?
Yeah.
When I was in yoga teacher training and we were at Aparigraha, my teacher, we had to bring in our high valued gift that we owned, right? Okay. Something that meant a lot to us.
Wow.
And I had a burn box. It was a beautiful wood box that had a carving done on the top, and I would use that for my full moon burns. I would write on a piece of paper an ailment, an emotion, whatever it case, something that I needed to release, and I'd stick the paper in the box. And at the full moon, whatever was in the box, I would burn. And I loved that box. It was a beautiful, beautiful box, and I gave it away. So, as we work towards the full moon, maybe think about that.
I'm still thinking about that. Yeah, that's an exercise that can, I can do that in my closet. Like, rather than just picking the sweaters that are my least favorite to give away, maybe pick one that is my beloved and have that exercise. And we're talking about a spiritual exercise.
Yes.
Right? And
it's been sometime years later, and I feel okay. Like, I don't, we often think that once we give it away, or once we surrender, once we merge our life with someone, right? Our finances. That's a very, full moon in Scorpio thing, right? When we go from that Taurus to the Scorpio, where we merge our finances, that can be scary too.
Yeah.
And it works out.
Well, it works out because, like I said, the spiritual growth of it. So you don't lust after that box because you gained the spiritual strength that the action and the gesture required. And so now you're sitting with that spiritual jewel, and who needs the box?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you've looked at your checking account going, oh my gosh, I only have this amount in my checking account, and that feeling that it brings. But then when you shift that energy, when you feel that test, those challenges, and you shift that energy to, wait, but I'm being taken care of. Everything always works out.
Yeah, and I have this much.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that this is
Yes.
here for me.
Yeah.
Like, what a blessing.
It is very much a shift. It's honoring that feeling of, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to possess this to feel this. And notice as we work to that full moon, how that shifts and changes.
And I think one thing we can point out, because what Lisa's doing is she's playing with polarity. So she's playing with the Taurus, Scorpio polarity.
Yes.
So at the new moon, the sun and the moon are together in a sign. So this moon, the sun and the moon were together in Aries. But as we come to this full moon, they're opposite each other on the astrological wheel. And that's how we're gonna have the polarity there.
Yes.
So it's not just, this is Aries, gather your goods, or this is Scorpio, give it all, surrender it all out. It's like, this is the opportunity to say, where's the integration of these two qualities, and how are each of them serving me, and am I balanced and well expressed through this conversation, this polarity theme, you know, there's a million polarities.
And all of those new moons are very self-motivated. And as we work through any of the full moons, you'll always, I shouldn't say always, but most of the time, it is a relationship.
Yeah, more bigger than just
We will always kind of see it mirrored out within our relationships as we work through that.
Okay, Aries, we have our work cut out for us.
And no,
because Aries is me, but like, this is the conversation.
Yeah,
it's about me, but then I'm in cooperation, I'm in relationship with these other people.
Well,
and I know in my business right now, like moving the studio, like I have these ideas, these are my ideas, this is my agenda, this is my timeline. But like, I have to interact with all these other people, and it's not just me that's getting benefit, it's all these other parts and pieces of the puzzle. So,
and you
new moon to full moon.
Yeah, and we can think of the I ams, right? So the Aries is the, you know, I am courageous, I am confident, I am love. It is those I ams. As we move through the Taurus, we start to shift into the I have, like a little kid, like my grandson. I have these cars, they are mine, I possess them. And just, you know, to sit with that, to look at what's around your house, you know, or the, you know, the things, their clothing, and, you know, the people in our life.
You know, my students know I'm really hip to designer sunglasses. So that's my possession thing. That's probably the coveted thing I should give away, but I'll practice with my sweaters.
Love it.
Sweaters. This is a baby steps, people.
It should be baby steps, right? It's not time to go head first in Aries. Aries will go head first in, let's just give it all away. Let's see what happens.
I must have something in Taurus. Let's not be foolish.
But yes, the polarities, and reflecting upon those possessions that we have. And you know, we can't, the Taurus energy is also about, you know, you talked about earth and grounding and manifesting, in the restaurants, right? The eating of the good food, the going back to our senses. So, you know, Aries energy, it's not really it's moving too fast to take time to smell the roses.
Right. It's like the spark that gets us started. And then like raw resources. So the sun moves into Taurus just about the 20th usually, right?
Everything's moving.
So everything's moving into Taurus. So when we get to the full moon, it'll be the sun in Taurus in the moon in Scorpio.
Yes.
And that'll be on this 27th. And I feel like we have our work cut out for us. Mars.
Yes.
Cut.
Unless you just
here, this.
You know, we did not even plan this, but where I was going to go next has less to do with those cuts.
Okay.
So Taurus, gardening, rooting, all of those things. I am not a gardener. I would love to be a gardener one day, just not yet. Gardeners prune,
right,
for new growth, right? That's what I think of in this cycle.
Okay. Get pruning.
Doesn't mean it's, because you prune even though it doesn't have to be dead, right? You're just pruning.
Yeah, usually you prune after the blossoms. So like my forsythia, I wouldn't prune now because it's blossoming now. I would prune when the blossoms fall off, which might be a couple more weeks, but
you had that new growth,
that
right?
same idea, the new growth, the
Mhm.
spurt, the new growth, and then as the flowers die, then you prune because you know the growth cycle is going to come in
Exactly.
quicker.
Exactly.
And pull out.
So as we kind of reflect on the things that we need to cut, right?
And by the way, I'm hardly a gardener, so don't listen to me. Look it up, Google it or something, but that's sort of what I think.
But to give you the idea and the concept that we, cutting back doesn't mean endings, so to speak.
Cutting back can facilitate the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice twist of the life.
Yes. So, again.
And it's really, again, spiritual maturity that you've got your intelligence together and you understand that, because you're not going to have the energy to bust through into the new spaces if you refuse to cut and trim.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, no, I know I need to move forward in this area, so I'm going to have to, you have to cut first before you get the new growth.
Yes, exactly.
You can't hand to hand.
Exactly.
One. So there is a courageous act.
There is, absolutely. There absolutely is. There absolutely is. And that is our growth. It is part of, it's part of that cycle. And we may notice that with, these Taurus planets squaring Saturn, I think that it will challenge us to see what kind of needs to be cut for growth.
Right. And if you need facilitation in the cutting, there can be times when it's not conscious. It's not in the conscious thought, it's in the subconscious. And so then we don't say, you're sitting here thinking, I don't even know what to cut, whatever they're talking about. Go to your mat. Go to your mat. And if you've got the courage to come to Kundalini Yoga, I promise you, because the practice will move the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the organic movement of the energy is going to either show you what needs to be cut, or in the case of a lot of the Kundalini mantras and meditations that we do, it will just clear the subconscious. Mm-hmm. The patterning, you will just rematrix yourself into something more positive. So there's this idea that we have to always know.
Yeah,
we don't have to know. The lotus busts through the mud, it has no idea where it's going.
Exactly.
No idea, but it has a destiny. Mm-hmm. And it has a natural energetic burst that takes it where it needs to go. So practice, just practice.
Practice. Yes. And when if you find yourself in a yoga studio, set that intention, reveal to me,
right?
Where I'm blocked when you're lying Shavasana. I often encourage my students to allow the breath to kind of find its way to a part of the body and ask the body, what are you trying to tell me? What do I need to know? Yeah. Our bodies are very smart, always talking to us.
And as an organism, they want our highest good. So your body as an organism wants to live, be healthy, thrive, be vital, heal.
Yeah.
So really good ideas.
I'm good
for
on
us.
that.
Yeah. Woo, girl.
It's exciting.
It's a big time. It's a big time.
And honestly, I really feel like this is a big cycle.
Yeah.
I think this is a big cycle moving into the summer. I do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are feeling it too. Just when I'm out and about, the general verve in the air is much different than it was a year ago.
Yes.
When we actually weren't out and about, but when we started going out and about, the fear that was in the air. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this can just be flushed through and cleared through, and we can have some plans and move forward.
We're not constipated anymore.
We're not constipated. No one likes to be constipated. But then if you're constipated, practice.
Exactly.
That too. All kinds of energetic flow happens when you get to your mat. So Lisa, thank you. Namaste, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So blessed, so blessed. And thank you. Thanks for following. Namaste. Let's get this.